Hi, I'm George Taylor and I study sport and exercise science at the University of Wolverhampton.
I'm Devon Simons, and I also study sport and exercise science at the University of Wolverhampton.
Today we will be analysing Case Study B, which involves John, a talented hockey player that experiences a rise in arousal and anxiety levels before and during important matches, which subsequently decreases his performance. Firstly, we assume John plays well for an amateur level club, which earns himself a place on the county team. A week before county matches, he worries about performing poorly and letting his teammates down. During the match, he would be playing well, but then suddenly he would start making technical errors. John finds this extremely frustrating to the point that he occasionally starts yelling at himself and throwing his stick to the floor. He recognizes that his nerves are getting the better of him, but is unsure of how he can control them. This is where we would like to step in to offer him some guidance.
Firstly, the cognitive approach involves thought processes, selective attention, and information processing, which are all closely linked together. Information processing works through changing your thought process and selectively focusing your attention on only the important information. In the case of John, before the match, he should get rid of all irrelevant information and focus on what is relevant for the match. For example, he should escape from the negative self-talk that he will let his team down and replace it with tactics about how he can perform well and help the team win. John can also change his thought process during the games when performing skills and techniques. For example, if John is performing the slap pass, he will need to process information such as how hard to hit the ball, where to aim the pass, and the actions after the pass has been completed, such as his speed and direction of the movement. Perception is also a key part of the cognitive approach and can be explained through the basic cognitive model. The sense organs, such as the eyes, ears, and nose, process information regarding stimuli in the environment to allow the person to make a response. For example, in a game of hockey, John will use his eyes for peripheral vision when an opponent is closing him down. He can then congest this information and respond by changing direction or accelerating away from the defender.
The first theory that applies to the case study is the social cognitive theory. This theory suggests that people learn through observing their environment. Most people try to conform to society by acting the same as other people do in an attempt to look normal. We believe that John is trying to conform when he plays for the county, in the sense that he tries really hard to fit in and avoid making any mistakes instead of playing his usual game like he does for his club. The case study reads, John believes he will not be good enough on the day. This relates to self-efficacy, as it suggests that John has self-doubt and may not believe in his own ability. However, this only occurs before an important game, which implies that the problem relates to the pressure of performing at a higher standard. We believe this fear of failure may hold John back in the future, because if he only wants to do things where he knows he will succeed, he may not push himself or try new things. This applies to his hockey aspirations and life in general. Self-control is another factor related to this theory. In the case study it says that in his frustrations, John would occasionally shout at himself and throw his stick on the floor. This demonstrates that John cannot control his emotions, which suggests to the viewing public, so the players, coaches, spectators, etc., that he may have an underlying personality problem, such as anger or aggression issues. However, it is in fact the anxiety which frustrates him, as it prevents him from being able to perform at a higher standard, and this then triggers his aggressive behaviour.
As previously just mentioned, anxiety has a major influence on John's performance. In the case study, it says he often lays awake a week before competition, worrying about his performance and how he could let the team down. The fact that he is already thinking about the county match a week before it starts emphasizes the importance it has to him, and the word worrying shows that John is already anxious. It appears that John becomes overly aroused during his county matches as he would be playing well and then suddenly starts making lots of mistakes, which would result in him being substituted. This suggests that he cannot get back up to the same level he was originally performing at, and therefore we identified the catastrophe theory as a relevant explanation, as his arousal levels become too high and his performance rapidly decreases. This could lead to him running around aimlessly trying to make amends, or it could make him less inclined to ask for possession of the ball from teammates, which may come across as looking uninterested or lazy to the manager, fellow players, and spectators. We also believe that John's performance decreases due to a lack of concentration as a result of his anxiety. He cannot focus on the task in hand. Either his nerves act as a distraction, or his negative mindset focuses on avoiding failure rather than thinking tactically about how he can help the team succeed. Furthermore, the physiological responses to anxiety may be affecting John's performance. Symptoms such as an increased heart rate, increased breathing rate, and decreased reaction time will mean that not only will John be struggling mentally due to his anxiety, but physically he will be getting fatigued a lot quicker than the rest of the players.
Competence is the ability to achieve a desired goal. A number of factors make up competence. In order to feel and be competent, one must possess a combination of these factors. The factors we would like to focus on are knowledge, leadership, skill set, level of performance, experience, and confidence. John lies awake at night a week before playing his county matches because he feels incompetent at that level. We believe this is down to the last two factors, lack of experience and a lack of confidence. Once John gets more experience of playing at county level, he should become more confident, which will allow him to express himself on the field. John clearly possesses a good knowledge of the game, as well as having the skill set and level of performance required to be called up to the county team. Without confidence, he may struggle to show off these positive aspects. This especially applies to leadership, because a leader should set a good example to their teammates, and if John doesn't believe in himself and demonstrates anxiety, it may create a knock-on effect, and he may not gain the respect from his teammates, which will create a negative atmosphere amongst the group. If John changes his mindset, he can turn his current incompetence at county level into competence.
The intervention we have chosen for John to use is imagery. We feel that if he can focus on solely performing the task in hand, it will help him block out other feelings of nervousness and apprehension. Imagery is a mental rehearsal of the stages you need to go through in order to complete a skill. In John's case, the skill may be a push pass to a teammate. John will need to prepare his mental rehearsal before county matches because hockey is such a fast-paced game where he is likely to only have a split second to go through each stage in his head while in possession of the ball. He also needs to think back to one of his good performances and break down why it went well. For example, how was he feeling during the game? Did he feel nervous or confident? What skills were effective on the pitch? Why did that type of pass work well? Questions like this would allow John to recollect his best moments before an important game and try and replicate it at county level, where it matters most. Additionally, John should think about what he could smell, see, and hear, and how he was feeling during the game. If he can replicate the environment, then hopefully he can replicate the performance.
Finally, here is a reference list containing all of the sources we have used in order to collect credible information for this assignment.
We hope you have enjoyed this presentation. Thank you for your attention, and goodbye from us both.